Hi, welcome to the Entrepreneurs Connection. I'm your hostess, Nancy Cantor, and what I do is I interview people in the local area who I feel are good examples of entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship, the way I define it, is somebody who's really taking something on. They see a need out there, possibly a problem out there, and then they're willing to roll up their sleeves and actually get to work on it. Today, I'm speaking with Dennis Pratt. He is the founder of Personal Growth Network, and we're here to find out about his journey into, I'm going to call it social entrepreneurship. Welcome, Dennis.
Thank you, Nancy. Welcome.
Well, thank you. It's good to be here. You're very kind to have me here today. I wanted to start out because you have a very interesting background, your education and your background in business before you started Personal Growth Network. So I'd like to hear a little bit about your background.
Sure. Well, actually, I have almost two themes in my education. I have a business education and I have a psychology education. And the Personal Growth Network is really a melding of those two themes that I never thought would come together. I had psychology undergrad, and I really was interested in what is today called positive psychology. How do generally healthy people get more happiness, more success? Are there tools that they can use? But this was in the 70s, and so I studied rats and mazes and schizophrenics and catatonics. So I wasn't really that interested in that. So I left psychology and I went to graduate school in computer science and eventually graduate school at MIT in business. And I studied entrepreneurship. And I studied entrepreneurship in new emerging industries. So, and I worked for decade and a half in telecommunications. And information services.
Okay, so you worked with some startups during that time?
Yes, I worked in an incubator for a long period of time. So I was working with multiple startups all around the country, helping them start up, helping them. Really, my role was more business strategy, marketing strategy. Who are your customers? How to do segmentation, and remember, these were all kind of emerging marketplaces, so we didn't really know what the form of the marketplace would look like. And so how do you actually conceive of this potential future market?
Okay, so it sounds like you're a good visionary.
Yeah.
That you can see that bigger picture of where things might be going, and you help people, I don't know, get up underneath that? Is that a good way of saying it?
I'm a good person. I think it's hard to be a visionary. Because the world is so large and the future is so complex. I think that what I'm good at is coming up with what possibilities there are and then setting up a system to allow the possibilities to form themselves.
Much better way of saying it. Yeah. I like that. So it sounds like that's a good segue into Personal Growth Network. So there's something you saw. And then there's something you did about it, which is true about every entrepreneur. So how did that journey or how did that get connected?
Well, I had retired from entrepreneurship in the 2000s. And I had always been interested in psychology and what's today is called positive psychology. And I had seen these types of workshops that were around, landmark workshops, insights, there's just a number of them. And I had taken a large number of them since 1986. When I first heard of it, I said, oh yes, I've always been interested in it. I tried them out. What I was so surprised with was, about a number of things, but from an entrepreneurial perspective is that I had never seen a product category with customers who were as excited and happy about the product. So they try out the product and they just absolutely love it. They go, this is like the best thing ever. And I had never seen an industry that was so tentative, that there were so many companies that were just on the edge of being able to make it and were failing. And those two things just didn't match up with me. How could you have a product category where people absolutely love the product and yet the people who were providing it weren't really doing that particularly well?
Well, I think it speaks to, because I'm a business development coach. So in my background, I see, we use a lot of stuff from the E-Myth by Michael Gerber. And he says, in order to have a great business, you have to wear 3 hats. So you have to be the visionary, the leader, you have to be the manager, and then you've got to be the technician. So it seems like with this companies, they're great at the technical level, like delivering their product. People love their product.
Right.
But then it's like, what is the managerial system for how the product gets delivered? What's the vision for where the business is going? And that sometimes businesses, people, and even organizations that do this are not great at creating that business structure that enables their product to move forward.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I used to work for Landmark, and our customers loved our product. And I can't say how things went in the office always left the best taste in the mouths of our participants. And I'm not sure even why. I think there were so few of us on staff. Everybody who worked there was really a volunteer. There were 5 people who got paid to work there. I was one of them at that time, and this was like 89 to 92. And everybody else was a volunteer. So as a staff person, you're always enrolling people to work in your department and then training and developing them. So you really needed a tight system for how they were going to deliver what needed to happen to the participants. We did a lot on calls and training communicators, people who work with us during enrollment events. I'm telling you, every night was a big deal of what was going on and what needed to be accomplished. And there was a lot of, in that company, a lot of rigor of it had to be done a certain way. If my statistics did not match at the end of the week, that was not a good thing. So you're always trying to get things exact. But, a lot of, but because your heart was in it, you worked so hard. And I would say that's true of a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so it's a little kind of a different kind of business model. And I would say that's probably true in the other organizations, but maybe they didn't have the rigor that Landmark had. Because Landmark survived. Landmark's been around for a while, and they do well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Landmark's actually one of the few that's actually done pretty well on its own. And there's a large number of companies that have had absolutely fantastic product and have failed. And that was kind of the question I was asking was, why is that? I think you're talking a little bit to do you actually have the skills in that organization to actually implement, to do the sales? I know of a couple of examples. Insight is a great one, where the people, again, great product, and the people who are in it, they don't have necessarily the sales skills or the ability to follow through with a lot of the business aspects of it.
Sure.
To them, it's not really a business. It's more of a calling.
Yeah, and I think even with the calling, if you train people on, we call it enrollment. Like it isn't sales, it's really getting with another person and finding out what do they need, what do they want, what's their heart's desire. And if you've got something that can fulfill on that, it's a really nice opportunity to connect that up. And then you also have to be good, I call it registration, that you manage people's commitments over time. So once they commit to doing something, I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with this, people are all enthusiastic and it sounds like such a great idea. And then when it comes down to actually paying the full balance or showing up, or you need a certain amount of time to do it, that's kind of where the rubber meets the road. And you need people who are good at working with people so they actually get it's part of their personal growth to fulfill what they said that they were going to do. So there's a huge amount of skill sets involved in that. And if you don't have companies that are good at training and developing people in that, it's a hard road to hoe. Yeah,
and it's a different industry than the ones that I worked in before. I mean, people don't wake up thinking that they want personal growth. They may wake up and say, this part of my life isn't working as well as I would like it, or boy, I would really like to have more success with my boss, or geez, my table is such a mess. How do I actually get organized? So they might actually be asking those types of questions, but they don't say, oh, I want personal growth. I think another problem is that the people who really have the characteristics, who are willing to do this work, it's a rare combination. The people who will say not only that they want more success, but they're willing to actually do the work. They're willing to be courageous and change their habits. It's a hard group to find. Maybe 1 in 200. And so what would happen with a lot of these organizations is they'd find one of these people, and then they'd say, "Oh, great, bring your mother." Or bring your sibling. And their sibling and mother might actually not be a person who's really good for this. And so the idea of segmentation, which is just a gigantic piece of my work when I was in the regular industry, is so critical here, of finding the characteristics that really identify who your target customer is. Because it's not everyone. I used to work with the MIT Enterprise Forum. And part of it was helping these entrepreneurs with their business plan. And I'd ask, one of my first questions was, who's your target customer? And they say, everyone. And I knew immediately we had a problem. Because if you can't tell who's your target customer, and really the best way of doing that is saying who isn't your target customer, then you don't really know whom you're serving.
Great. Well, I think this is a good place to transition into talking about Personal Growth Network, because you've really taken on, you've talked about the challenges, but you've really taken on delivering something to a certain segment of the population. So why don't you say a little bit more about the segment of population you're trying to serve and how you serve them?
So one of the things I think that we have done with Personal Growth Network, so Personal Growth Network is kind of a meta-organizing unit. So we don't actually deliver personal growth events. What we do is we support people to deliver personal growth events. So we work with hundreds of people who are offering personal growth events. And the big change I think that I made by creating the Personal Growth Network was, instead of having a kind of a silo type of industry, so you have Landmark over here, and Landmark is offering Landmark product, and people go in and they become Landmark people, and then they don't really actually find out about insights, or they don't find out about high. And what we had was, we had this really sparse population and a bunch of silos where people didn't really talk with each other that much. And so what I said was, okay, look, I want to actually create a community, and I want to bring my business skills to creating a community that cuts across all these different approaches of personal growth. Because somebody who's really interested in Landmark might be interested also in something that High might offer, and might be interested also in something that Insight might offer, and vice versa. Also, by doing that, I give tools to actually allow new people to come in and offer things. And they may offer something very small. We had a small group on getting things done. So kind of how to self-organize. But you can offer all that within the Personal Growth Network. So I consider the Personal Growth Network to be the Unix of the personal growth industry. Whereas before it was, you bought IBM, and you only bought IBM. You bought IBM servers, and you bought IBM accounting software, and you bought IBM chairs, or you bought DEC, or you bought Wang, or you bought Mac. Instead, you come in here, and it's plug and play.
Nice.
And you can actually pick and choose anything that you want for any part of your life that you really want. More growth, more success, more happiness.
Okay, so I like that, because I've always had that vision too, because I've participated in, I've done Insight, I've done Landmark, I've done Sterling, Institute of Relationship. I'm sure there's other things. I used to be a yoga teacher, so I feel like I've touched upon a lot of different modalities or venues for personal growth. I want you to talk about a little bit more about the organization of Personal Growth Network, so people who are listening can understand it. Like, what's the platform? It's a meetup platform. And then say a little bit about the Heartbeat Salons, because I think that's emerging as centralized locations where people can connect.
Yeah. So we use a lot of different software and pieces, and we put these things together in order to create Personal Growth Network. One of our major software pieces is Meetup.com. So we use that because we run so many events. We're running about 200 events a year across a wide variety of different parts of life and different techniques. And Meetup.com just has a great software platform that supports us to be able to offer those events and keep them organized and that type of stuff. But we also are using Zoom for conferencing. We're using some other pieces of software. Currently, Personal Growth Network is from southern New Hampshire down to Rhode Island and out to Worcester. So that rectangle is where we play. And so we're doing 200 events a year in that rectangle. One of the things that we found, though, was that people are so sparsely populated that when we got personal growth people together, they were so excited. Because now all of a sudden, oh, you're interested in that too. I'm interested in that. And then they could share stories, they could share their own travels and their goals and support. But it was really hard having 1 in 200, 1 in 300 to have a central gathering. So the idea came that we would create these things called heartbeat salons. And we currently have, 8 today, and in a month we're going to have 10. But they're scattered from throughout that rectangle. Eventually, we're going to set it up so that you do not have to drive longer than 25 minutes to get to one of these locations. And what they are basically, it might be in someone's home, it might be in their business, in their conference room, it might be in a library, but wherever, it's one of the members saying, I would really like to create a community here. And they create a local community and they bring people from around, and then they might have a speaker come in. They might show a movie and have a discussion afterwards. They might just do a circle where everyone talks about what's going on in their lives. They might bring up a topic that's really important to them, marriage, and have a conversation around how are their marriages going, what's going on with marriage and within that community. So it's a way of the members themselves getting together and enjoying each other.
It's great. I remember, I went to one in Natick. Ann LaFleur's leading the one in Natick, and they do it at the Spiritual Center there, which is a lovely, lovely location. And she had Wendy Williams, who's a relationship coach, come and speak about communication within your marriage and talk about 4 types of communication that was poisonous to relationship. And it was really interesting, being critical, and she gave some really good examples, taking yourself away and not communicating. But and there were probably about 15, 20 of us there, and it was such a nice snippet to get introduced to a new way of thinking about communication and marriage. So I love that the topics are fairly specific, and that people, when they do bring speakers in, are experts. This is their business. This is what they do. So they have great insights. I also went to another one. Marianne Connors was doing one. She's what's the right word? She's a culture, paraculture?
Then I don't know the word.
Paraculture? It's like where you use your land to, like you could create a garden throughout your property. Like you don't need a lawn. You could actually have a very lucrative garden out there, or you could have animals, or there's a way of like turning your property into a sustainable living center.
Right.
Fascinating. Like ideas maybe you never just thought of. And so now you have somebody, if you're interested in that, you could connect with her. And that's what I like, is that you get to know what people are interested in. And, not everything is for everybody, but it's a place to learn and grow. And if there's topics, like those little snippets are fantastic. You get value out of just coming, but then if you want to pursue them further, you can do that as well.
Yeah, and the Personal Growth Network is a fairly large umbrella. I mean, you gave just 2 examples of things that are in there. Basically, our scope is making a change in the way that you're thinking in order to affect your behavior.
Okay.
So I'm getting particular results out in the universe. As I'm acting, I'm getting particular results. And some of them, I think I can actually see how they could be better. What do I need to do to change the way that I'm thinking and the way that I'm acting in order to make that part of my life even better? So that's really where we play. And it really is personal. What am I doing as opposed to societal? So we had some difficulty early on in the personal growth network because everything fit in, and we actually had people come in and makeup for effective change, and so we had to actually kind of say, okay, look, this is really, what changes do I have to make in terms of the way that I'm thinking and in terms of the way that I'm acting out in the universe.
So it's always about what am I thinking and how am I acting?
Yeah.
And if I want different results, how would I change the way I'm thinking and acting?
Yeah, well, that's such a big thing, is that you're getting the results that you're getting because of how you're thinking and acting.
True.
And so if you want different results, you have to change the way that you think and act. And that's really the difference between the people whom we're dealing with and the other 199 out of 200 that we're not, is people who are actually willing to make changes in the way that they're thinking and the way that they're acting.
Well, I think the key to that is that you bring up something that's important to them.
Mm-hmm.
So I might not be sitting here going, I want to change the way I'm thinking and acting. I just am not thinking that. But I could be looking at my business and thinking, I wish my business was more successful. Or, it's the end of the year, you look at your numbers, you go, oh, that's where it turned out. I would like to see it turn out like this. So because that could be my interest, then I might get more interest in, like, how could I be thinking and acting that would happen? So it's not just everything out here. It's like you got to think and you got to act differently in ways that would enable you to accomplish new things.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's where I've been successful with the Entrepreneurs Connection, like people want to do better in their businesses. And that's a lot of what I do in terms of, I say my tagline is where personal growth meets professional success. So I do a lot with people going through how they're thinking and acting and having them make shifts. And the end result is they're more profitable, their business grows, they have more effective employees. So there's definitely a byproduct of personal growth. Like it isn't, and it could be you want a better marriage. Okay, that could be, when you think about it personally, the byproduct of learning a few things is you might have a more happy, conducive, productive marriage, more fun. So I think it's really enrolling people in what they're interested in, and then through the personal growth, and they get the results that they're looking for, that they go, oh, personal growth, I like that.
Well, now, in our segmentation, what we're really looking for is a person who has that as a tendency, that is just almost a drive in their life. Because what you're talking about is, oh, geez, I'm experiencing so much pain here, I might go and get that fixed. Okay, great. We have a questionnaire on our meetup.com personal growth network that actually helps you to figure out if you're in this segment. And so, for example, one of the questions is, it tries to measure how willing you are to change. And on one side of the scale, it's, I was wrong once before when I thought I was wrong. Those types of people. And another person was just, I'm wrong so often, and it's so interesting to see it and examine it and try to get a sense. So there are a lot of people who say, look, I studied when I was in high school, and I'm never going to study again. Or I was, don't get me to change. I don't change. I am who I am. They tend not to be good prospects for Personal Growth Network, and we don't spend a lot of time and energy trying to find them. We've grown tremendously. We're not even 3 years old, and we have 1,700 members.
Awesome.
We're growing very quickly. We have 200 events a year. And what we're doing, though, is we're trying to find those specific people who really are interested in general, in having a better life, and they're willing to take those steps. And it really is, that's why the parties, I think, are so fun, because people actually enjoy being with this type of person. They don't get that from their neighborhood party.
I understand. I definitely do understand. So, you said it from the beginning that segmentation is everything. Like that's what you look at. So you're really trying to attract a particular kind of person. I guess I always feel like if you put something out there, you will, and you have certain intentions, you will attract the right kind of people who are going to benefit from it. So we have about 3 minutes left. Is there any last thing you want to say about Personal Growth Network that, as people are listening in, would they know they're the right kind of person to check you out on meetup.com?
Well, I would suggest that you go to Personal Growth Network on meetup.com. So it's meetup.com, Personal Growth Network. And see the types of events that are there. Usually what happens is somebody will come in with one, for one event. And if that's just the only area that they're interested in, they may very well leave. What we're interested in is somebody who goes, oh, that looks interesting, or that looks interesting. Maybe someday here. And the idea is that Personal Growth Network can provide lots of different tools throughout your life and basically enhancing all different parts of your life.
Yeah, so I hear your mission in all of this. So I just really want to applaud you for that mission, and that you're somebody who saw a need and then you went to work on putting something together that would really fill that need. And that, I think, is at the heart of really good, positive entrepreneurship. So we can a new phrase, positive entrepreneurship. Really accolades to you. It's something I thought about for a long time because I did participate in a lot of networks of personal growth, and thinking about how could we get them all together. And I never really came up with any great conclusions, but I think you've done that. Yeah. So thank you for doing that. Now I don't have to. But I'm really, I'm going to put a personal plug for the Ashland Heartbeat Salon. We're going to be starting that on March 9th. Opening new. So me and my husband, Alan, are going to be running that. So I'm really excited about being part of it. And just really, it's great to know you and be part of the organization that you've built. I feel like it's so helpful. And I look forward to the future that we're going to create here.
Well, thank you very much. And I just want to say that it took a long time for me to actually accept that I was the right person to do this. And so your listeners, if they see a giant gap, you're the person to fill that gap. So I was so troubled by this problem and how to solve it, and I thought I had a solution, but I couldn't get anyone else to listen to it. So I just said, okay, I'll do it. And my suggestion to them is that if they also see that big gap and they're really driven to fill it, fill it.
Awesome. So thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you so much. So I just want to thank you for tuning in today. I'm speaking with Dennis Pratt. He is the founder of Personal Growth Network. And I think he just charged you with something. If you see a gap, and this is really at the heart of good entrepreneurship, if you see a gap, create something, fulfill on that gap. There's something, if you see it, you always assume somebody else will, and they might not. So you're there for a reason. If you see that, create something. So my name is Nancy Cantor. I'm your hostess on the Entrepreneur's Connection. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you find something that fulfills your heart, your soul, and you create something valuable. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.